Could you not RFP this? Because there are other benefit providers out there,
Yes,
correct?
we did, and we have, it was through an RFP a few years ago.
A few years ago?
Yeah, yeah,
How many's a few?
and it will be coming up. I'm not sure, I think we're in the third or fourth year.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Brunton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question through you to staff. Page 134, I see the dental programs have gone up, and I wondered what, and I used to be familiar with, there's different levels of you can buy in terms of the program for dental. What one are you on? Do you know? Like what level of coverage do you get on your dental program?
Through the chair, to the councillor. We have a number of different benefit plans depending on the union, the
Yeah, okay,
contracts.
yeah.
And each of those plans provides different coverage of dental coverage, different maximums, a certain amount of cleanings, and basic and major services.
Okay, so I assume management get a different program than union or whatever, or different unions, but like, are they still at different levels in the dental program in terms of coverage? Like, is our management at the top level in the dental program? Or are they, you know what I'm saying? Do you understand?
Yeah, through the chair to the councillor, they're all very comparable services and coverage that we offer through the plan.
You don't know what levels they are?
No.
Okay. The out of travel has gone up, I see $3,000 a month. Is that because of retirees, or is that, like, do you still, I know you used to be able to go to province for 30 days in their normal coverage. Is that still what we cover, or has that been extended to go up to $3,000 per month, I see?
Through the chair, there's been no change in coverage. The increase is purely due to the industry and also the increasing retirees.
Okay. And retirees are covered till what, age 65?
65 for currently, but then there will be a cutoff for people that are hired after, depending on the area. It's around 2011, 2012. From that forward, there won't be any early retirees benefits, but currently, yes, 65.
Okay, as far as the dental, I wouldn't mind knowing a little bit more on the differences in coverage between the different levels. Okay, and I know you don't have that with you, but I would appreciate perhaps an email to find out a little bit more about it. Okay?
Certainly, we can get that information for you.
Thank you.
Mayor Luke.
Thank you, Chairman Wells. Just one simple question. Did read the report, a lot of changes from year to year, changes in employment status, et cetera, retirements. But either Nicole or Trevor, through you, Mr. Chair, you say on one hand that overall for 2017 our basic increase is less than 1%, which I think is good. And then on page 137, you make the favorable budget impact for this year, 2017, for all the benefits, 44. How did, again, in a nutshell, how did we achieve with an increase of under 1% still a favorable, I would assume, impact would be a balance to the good?
Through the chair, yes, we had anticipated an increase in LTD of 2%.
Okay.
Because with that survey from 2015, we were locked in for 2 years. But normally, what happens after you're locked in, that they come back with an increase, and we were anticipating that. We are also anticipating increases in the other areas, extended health care and dental. But since we did better than what's anticipated in
Yeah.
the formula that the benefit companies put together, that we carried an additional surplus again this year. And because of that, that increased our UDA, or our unrestricted deposit account. And with that, even though the costs are increasing, we were able to negotiate a 0% increase.
So what you're telling us is you did a good job budgeting for 2017, right, Trevor?
There's a lot of different factors.
I know, thank you.
Yeah, including the work of Mosey and Mosey.
Councillor Oliver, did you have a question? Thank you very much. Seeing no further questions, Councillor Oliver. And moved by Councillor Oliver, seconded by Councillor Columbus. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you most kindly for your efforts. Bring us good news stories again. That brings us, according to this green form, communications. Do we have any communications to deal with, Mr. Clerk? How about motions, Mr. Clerk? How about closed session? We've done that. And I see that we should go to other business.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, for first time this year. Where in the agenda that we approved, is there a provision for other business this evening?
Well, there isn't, but I did check with the clerk, to which he, and I didn't want to bring this to his attention, he happened to forget that. But he remembered it.
Well done, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So, in other business, let's start with staff. On this side, any staff with other business, except you're not on this side. You just stay there. Over here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe it was on July 4th or July 11th, Councillor Brunton asked for an update on the amount of changes made to the levy through council-approved budget amendments. And I have an amount here for you, and to date, we have amended $95,000 in the 2017 tax operating budget.
Mr. Meisner.
No other business from me, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Barrett, I see you over there. You're okay? I'm fine, thank you. I saved you because you are elevated now. I got to go over this side. Any new business?
Just a quick one. I just want to make council members aware, committee members aware, that we've been doing some changes to council services web pages that we maintain. And one of the things I wanted to mention is that we now have the calendar for all our meetings posted online. So I think it's a much better system than having it here, but we'll continue to do it here, but it'll be updated and the public has more access to it that manner.
Thank you very much. Jason, anything for the good of the cause here?
Not today.
Your wife has taught you very well. Marlene, please.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Brunton.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to draw council's attention to a couple of things. One, in our information package, the resolution that was passed by the Conservation Authority, where we took, I'll call it emergency action to deal with property owners on Long Point. And I hope that satisfies a lot of concerns that the people down there have had. And my next question, or not a question perhaps, is just a comment that I received an email last night from Mary Weber, and I guess you all know that we're going into the Ontario Municipal Board hearing on the Hastings Drive issue. But in that memo, she refers to, there's a group that have hired a lawyer and a planner and so forth to deal with their side of the issue. But there's some interesting things in there. I don't know how many of you have read it. But one of the things that caught my eye and concerned me was the fact that they had approached 3 different planners to deal with the issues on Hastings. They had no problem. And I do recall when we made our, I'll use the word hasty decision to drop everything, I believe our lawyer told us there was no planner available. And I find that somewhat disturbing that we proceeded based on that. That was one of the big things that I proceeded to vote in the other direction. So I don't know where that's going. I understand she was here tonight, County Clerk. Is there any update that you can give us where that might be going?
Through you, Mr. Chair, well, the OMB hearing is the next step in it. I'm trying to think of the date that they're arranging for it, but there is an upcoming date, but not into the fall. I can get back to council with that.
I know there's another pre-conference hearing scheduled for October, but I don't know when the hearing will take place. But I found it, I feel like I was hoodwinked, if I could use that word, into making a decision, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Mayor Luke.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we were hoodwinked. I think anybody can hire a solicitor for any side of the equation. And I'm not just too sure we're talking specifically a solicitor in that situation or a consultant, because we were told we could not find a consultant to take on our position. And Councillor Brunton's quite right. That was probably the main reason why we changed our position on one of the options. Nevertheless, that's something we'll have to we're not going to solve here tonight. I have a couple things here. I'll be very quick. Actually, was with Aaron Chapman last evening at AMO in Ottawa. He's our Union Gas, I guess you would call him our manager of Union Gas. He's taking the lead from Union Gas, I believe, in submitting the application on the first page of the information package. I know you've looked at it, but he successfully has submitted an application for the possibility of expanding natural gas services into the Turkey Point. He does, however, say that during that 90-day application period, they processed 46 applications, and the total funding, unfortunately, is falling short just by $70 million shortfall. So it's likely that not all projects will be approved, I think. Anyhow, this fall, the provincial government will be allocating funding for the projects. Let's hope Norfolk is included. I was really, really nice to Aaron last night and thanked him on behalf of council for his work. Not that he has any say in who's going to be getting funding. Speaking of, sorry. I have two other items. I want to just give a very, very quick couple of comments on AMO in a moment, and I will have more of a report when I go through all my hen scratching and give you something in writing on some of the discussions over the last couple of days. But Mr. Cribbs, through the chair, if I may, excuse me, about a week and a half ago, yourself, two staff members, and myself, I don't know if there was any other council that went through Talbot Gardens with George. Can't remember his last name. I should. I've read it enough times. Had a great meeting. No? So I don't remember if any other councilor was there. I have a great model in my office that if you want to come in and have a look and play with, it's quite good on how the consultant, the engineer provided a working model of just what has happened under those seats. And a couple of options were discussed on ways to go to make the arena safer. Mr. Cribbs, sorry, Krillin, well, you look a little, your hair's a little longer than Mr. Cribbs, but other than that, Mr. Cridlin, my apologies, could you maybe, rather than myself, you just give us a little bit of an update of the work to be done, the option chosen, and the good news, i.e. seating capacity that will be seated in there, and timeline. Would you please, sir, through the chair, if that's permissible? Thank you.
Certainly, through the chair. Yes, it was about a week and a half ago we met. A few weeks ago, we had asked council for, I believe it was $90,000 for shoring and to possibly get, I think it was 420 seats up and going. That work is going quite well. The shoring should be done this Friday. There are 8 of the vaults that we've talked about under bleachers, which we can't shore because it's just the ground underneath. So we are going to have some pea stone pumped in and then grout put in to fill those up. So at the end of the day, I'm hoping by the last week of August, if everything goes according to plan, we will have those 420 plus seats up and going, and staff will start to put ice in right after Labor Day weekend. Also, we did have a good talk with the engineer. The destructive testing paid dividends, because with the destructive testing, the engineer was able to explain to us that the top coating, if I can do this justice, does have some structural strength. However, it's dependent on the layer below. So when the layer below was to fail, this would take over, but he's still not 100% sure how much that would take over. So he's crunching some numbers. We do hope to get him in here probably in the next couple weeks once we get the shoring up and get this place open. And we'll play with the model that Mayor Luke talks about. It is an excellent tool. It's easy to look at, and I thought very quite a visual to know what these bleachers are doing. And with that, depending on the flavor of council, I guess we will come forward with a cost of what it would take to get the rest of the seating up, if that is council's flavor at that time. I probably would see the engineer coming in probably the end of September at this point. We're going to be quite busy in August getting this up and running and then get him back. So it's not a good news story, but it's by far not as bad news story as what we thought back in February this year.
And thank you very much, through the chair, Mr. Cridlin, for that. And to put it in a nutshell, if I may, if you know Talbot Gardens, when this work is done, and it should be ready to go this fall, people will be allowed to be seated, if you know, on the west side where the players' box starts, be able to the edge of the players' box, sit there all the way around the east end of the arena, in other words, the lobby end, all the way around to the same point on the south side. So it's almost half of the arena seating will be able to be used. I would guess somewhere between 40-45%. Plus, spectators will be able to stand anywhere around the top level. We call the rail cement at the top. So I think we're going to be open for business there more than we initially thought. Thank you, Mr. Cridlin. The last thing is just very quickly, I want to just give you a quick text from our county manager, Mr. Cribbs, not Mr. Cridlin. He was listening to the Premier this afternoon. Her speech was at 1:15 this afternoon. And he says, and I quote, "The Premier in her speech this afternoon says that recreational infrastructure should be the next area of provincial funding." Just so that we know if we have some projects that it looks positive that that's where they will be going with the funding. As I say, I attended a number of meetings with ministers, very brief meetings with 8 different ministries. And I will give you the information, I won't go into tonight, but a number of topics, very interesting discussions on Bill 148, on the proposed also on the proposed 1% HST that the province is being asked to consider, and of course that I'll have the details, but as you know, that 1% would be used exclusively for the 444 municipalities to use for infrastructure, period. And I have all the details of how much money that in my office. I'll get to that next week. So if you were going to buy the full deal meal at McDonald's or Burger King, you'd be paying an additional 10 cents. That would go to municipality, or a car of $25,000 would cost you an additional $250 in taxes. So there was a lot of debate, pros and cons, around this one. Also, other things, I will just have it next week, Mr. Chair. So, yeah, the Bill 148 is the big one, and a number of resolutions made with the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, of which we're a part of, and in partnership with the meeting we had with the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, a number, 5 or 6 motions were made and sent on the position we're taking on these items. So anyhow, more later. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And welcome back, everybody. It's like the first day of school, trying to get the kids motivated. Yeah.
Councillor Sonnenberg, are you motivated?
Oh, yeah.
All right, speak.
Just a few quick comments on some road repairs in my area. You've heard me rail on here over the years about the worst road in Norfolk County being the county line between Haldeman and Norfolk. They have done major shoulder work, complete tar and chip job, and have improved the road 100%. And they have done some tar and chipping on some concession roads, including my own, for which I am eternally grateful. And they have rebuilt the Cockshut Road from what I call Townsend Center, which is Road 9, I guess, all the way into Renton, and have made it extra wide for bicycle lanes. So if you get a chance, go for a drive. It's an excellent improvement. So kudos to our roads department. Thank you very much.
See how things improve since you left the road department? Councillor Height.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few on my list here, and the first one is in our information package. It is pages 5 and 6. It's the clerk Chandra Alexander from the municipality of Blue Water is a resolution on the Ontario carbon tax. It basically states here they're looking for municipalities to support the idea that, I guess, the Ontario Energy Board wants to group the carbon fees that people will pay into a delivery line on their natural gas bills. It's kind of like that debt on your hydro bill that you never know the balance to. All right? Very annoying. I appreciate this thing, and I would like to see our council support this motion and send it forward, because I think it's important to know what your costs of your bills are, and the whole Ontario cap and trade, carbon credit scheme, whatever you want to call it. It's nice to have those numbers separated out. They are in other invoicing, but yet here they want to keep it all hidden. I think too, sometimes our municipalities where we talk that we're always getting squeezed by the province, there's 444 of us. We can push back.
The clerk said he would put it on our agenda next week.
Sounds good, Mr. Chair. Next up on my list, I received a call today from a taxpayer, and she was asking for Langton's Administration Building's office phone number because it wasn't on the tax slip that went out. So I promptly gave it to her, so I'm not sure why that wasn't on there, or if it was for that matter, because I threw mine in the garbage by accident, of course. And we do have a bit of an issue with our phones, Mr. Chair. I had to get in touch with the Langton Building myself, and I called, and then there was a glitch in the mail. I couldn't get through to the extension. It ended up transferring me to Simcoe. From there, I asked to speak to somebody in the Langton office. She transferred me to Delhi. After I spoke with the person in Delhi, they transferred me to Langton. How annoying is that? Very, very annoying, Mr. Chair. And as you know, being the councillor for umpteen years, a lot of the calls you take are probably similar to mine, where you're a referral agent, because people cannot find the people who can fix their problems. And an easy way to fix that, Mr. Chair, 311. Many municipalities have it. And if we're serious about customer service improvements, we need to look at that program. Because there's nothing worse than not being able to get a hold of people. Even as a new councillor, it took me months and months to figure out who to speak with. I hope that comes forward at some point in time so we can look at that as a real option. So that's next on the list, Mr. Chair. Bayfest, September, long weekend, Labor Day. The parade's at 2 p.m. You know the place where we meet. I don't have to tell you guys. We'll see you all there. Public is always welcome to come to the, the best parade in Norfolk County.
That's the one in Port Dover?
Well, speaking of all the good stuff in Ward 1, Mr. Chair, I also want to invite you to Norfolk Tales of Land and Lake. This is a performance, an outdoor performance. The gates open at 6 p.m. Showtimes are start at 7:30. And there are four performances from, what is it here? It's this weekend, August 17th to the 20th for the low adult price of $10, and kids get in for a mere $5 for a great evening's worth of entertainment. Okay, so I hope to see you guys all there with the 15-foot puppets. And then next on my list is an issue I'm having and I'm hoping our clerk can help me with this problem, or somebody can help me with this problem, because mobile food vending has been the bane of my existence all my holidays, Mr. Chair. Do you know how hard it is to get a license for mobile food vending in Norfolk? I didn't either, until I got call after call after call, and the problem is people don't know how to go through the process. So at some point in time, the process needs to get looked after so that everybody is on the same page. Because sending a person who wants to do business to different locations, and then when they finally think they're at the right and last location, to send them back for more stuff because the other departments didn't know what was going on, that needs to get fixed. The left hand needs to know what the right hand's happening. And we as council, we received numerous complaints over the lottery side of things, over the licensing side of things. At some point in time, can we just look at that and have a flow chart or order of operations package that we can give to people? It's painful every week. I'm going to write one, and I'm going to bill the clerk's department.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the issue that we're having is one of, I'd say, primarily education. We haven't changed any of the processes or requirements. They've been in place for, 5+ years. They're all the same as they previously were. And we do have very clear, easy-to-follow documents. What is occurring is that we weren't adhering to our own policies for numerous years. So it's quite a challenge saying to people, we want to bring you along, get you in compliance, get everything working, and the people are saying, well, I'm used to kind of running in at the last minute and getting everything issued anyway. So our timelines are unchanged from 5-6 years ago, and they're all very short, and it's an issue where we do our best and work with people to get it done. And one of the reasons why we removed the permitting fee for the licensing fee for all special events. We don't charge for any of that. And that's just to get these organizers doing what organizers do in every other community. And that's just doing the legwork required to organize and do a real event. And, it's something that my staff spend countless hours working with people and trying to educate them. And we also spend a lot of time talking to other people. So this year has been a challenge, I agree with you. Next year, it'll be 100 times better. We're already seeing people turn around, and we're already getting those improvements, and it's making our life easier, and eventually, in future years, their lives will be so much easier because of it.
Thank you for that. So, like, when you see the things like that cause people slowdowns and problems, do you document the process so that you could put it on the website so people knew what's the process, where are the forms? This is the age of information age. So it eliminates the problems. If 20 people have to look up for the same thing, if you have a build sheet, here you go, it would make everyone's life so much easier.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, those, they're all on there. We are looking at online forms. We do have fillable forms for it, but there's a clear checklist of everything that's required and the timelines, and everybody who comes in gets it, and it's all available on the website. It's a challenge where historically we haven't followed the rules, and so people could come in on a Friday and say, I need something for an event tomorrow, when all along the deadline's been 60 days in advance of that. And the reason for that really is for the health and safety and protection of people. It's to make sure we don't have liability as a municipality, we have proper insurance, we have proper health inspections. So the reasons for it are legitimate, and the timelines that we have are still much shorter than most municipalities. So we're just working with people to educate it, and it's one of those things where we are putting in the legwork and the time and having those tough conversations, but over time it will get better.
Thank you for that. And one last thing, Mr. Chair. I touched briefly on Bayfest. I wanted to thank the roads crews for going out and fixing Bay Hill. If you'll remember, there was the water main blowout in Port Rowan, and it took out Bay Hill, and that's where we have the little carts or whatever, what do they call those cars? Soap boxes, that's it. Right on that hill, so I appreciate the roads department got out there and fixed that up for me right away, and everybody will be happy to see the racers race. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Geisens.
Tonight, thank you.
Councillor Columbus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple items. Councillor Sonnenberg mentioned the road repairs in his ward. I too would like to pass out kudos to roads project with respect to the swimming pool road. And they put a nice bike lane in there, and they've got a very nice wide shoulder. And I've got very positive comments about that in the engineering. But I am getting concerns expressed about the Nixon Road that was rebuilt in 2016. And there is not a very wide shoulder. And if you go off that road just slightly, you will go into the ditch and perhaps have a rollover. So it has been brought to my attention several times about the Nixon Road, and they wonder why the Nixon Road wasn't built to the same standard as the swimming pool road. So, Jason, if you can take that back, maybe we can add some shoulder gravel there. It might cost a bit, but it is rather unsafe. The other one I wanted to mention was on behalf of the Ag Business Advisory Board, the tour plans for September the 6th are coming to a close. I've been working on this with Clark Hoskins. We do have several sites, top-notch sites selected primarily in Councillor Sonnenberg's ward, the northeast corner of the county. We're going to Archie's Cabbage, who supplies cabbage to Kentucky Fried Chicken and Loblaws. Prosick Farms, who've made a multi-million-dollar expansion there, and they employ several hundred workers on that farm. Grow several different vegetable crops. And Kaminsky Produce, it's the new building on the 24 highway. It's actually on the Wyndham side. And we're looking at a couple other sites, a farm market and possibly a Korean vegetable operation. So those are the plans to date. So mark your calendar, September 6th. I think there's several people registered for the bus already, and I think we can accommodate quite a few more. Okay? Thank you.
Councillor Oliver. Thank you very much. I only have one item, and that's maybe for Mr. Cridlin, if he would remind whoever is responsible. At our last council meeting before we went on to recess, I suggested or asked, is there a possibility staff could looking for potential land to buy at Port Dover for uptown for parking lot and for maybe a washroom to be put in there? And I just wondered how we are making out. And if there's no other business for the good of Norfolk County, I bid you all good night.